Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming to another video. All right, so I want to do a little more Laker talk for some reason. Um, Listening to, I think it was Alan Seawood just now, and he was kind of talking to about the Lakers in regards to the game that just played and against the Toronto Raptors and how, it was sort of like how are we looking at the road trip more or less. What can we expect for the rest of the road trip, and for the how can we strategize, going forward and things of that nature. And in my mind right now, I'm just thinking about how the Lakers are on this road trip dealing with the schedule being as it is. It's not about, as one of the people had said, he doesn't know if the Lakers' 3-game winning streak against the Spurs is really who we were in terms of us playing against teams that didn't want to win and they just ran them over. And we're really more so like this, a team that can hardly win. Or is it one of those situations where we're really like the team we were, against Milwaukee and we're able to beat teams that are really, really good and stuff like that? And I'm like, well, I think what fans are going to have to understand about this Laker team is everything is contingent on AD and Bron being on the floor because we're so AD and Bron centric. So you can go from being a contender and then drop to being a team that can't win a game just for one or two players being removed from the lineup. And right now, we got those players removed from the lineup. And so, but the thing about it is, what we also have to understand about the reality of our very current present moment is AD is just dealing with flu-like symptoms. So, like, maybe, was it 3 weeks ago, we had a situation where we had a whole week off between games where we had played, like, Brooklyn and then the Pistons, and it was like Brooklyn on a Sunday, the Pistons on a Friday. If the games were scheduled like that right now, AD could handle his flu without it ever affecting our schedule. He would be back. We would have heard of him having the flu, and we would have seen how he would have came back, and we would have never missed any time. But the reality is, we're in the middle of a road trip, and the games are bunched together. So he caught the flu on a Sunday, and because his game's on Monday and Tuesday, for example, now it's like he can't. He by the time Thursday come around, he'd already missed 2 games. So it's like that's all it is that we've run into. And so because we're so heavily reliant upon him, and we know we can't win without him, we got a sample size of that yesterday against Cleveland. It made all the sense in the world to just remove everybody from tonight's game that probably could heal, you know what I mean? Because it's one of those situations where you're like, all right, well, the Los Angeles Lakers obviously can't beat anybody without AD, so why even trot Bron out there? Why even trot Patrick out there? Why don't we just rest those guys and bring them back when AD gets back? That way, we're still in control of the things that we can control as a franchise, and we've rested our guys, played other guys, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it as a fan. That's kind of how I'm telling everybody else to kind of view it. It's not really about assessing who we are based on what we're seeing. It's just an unfortunate string of short-term problems that affect the schedule that we're playing, in a negative way. But I think it's going to balance itself out because other teams are going to come into our building with that same dynamic. Some of them are going to be missing their best stars. They're going to rest their stars, and we're going to be able to play against their third units and second units and be able to have the same dynamic, And so at the end of the year, everybody has, a balanced amount of wins and losses. I don't think it's going to be a situation where we get to the end of the season and there's a definitive space between many teams. I think it's going to come down to like the last week of the season for a good portion of the playoff matchups. As I look at the NBA and how things are going right now, it's going as I thought. I think most teams really are looking at each other and trying to figure out who's going to tank and who's not, and not really sure how they want to approach themselves and their plans going forward because of it. And you figure some of these teams are wondering if their stars are going to make it through the season. If for some reason they go all in, make certain trades, and then guys go down with an injury, now they have their books botched for seasons to come because of the deals and the contracts they bring in. So it's like they're pensive and they're poised to be patient in regards to what they want to do. They know that there's a team like the Lakers out there who has to make a trade at some point, so nobody's really ready to make a deal till they know what the Lakers are willing to do in regards to what they're paying for certain things because of what we just saw in the summertime with the Gobert thing and how that locked up the market. So everybody's just kind of poised to not really do too much because they don't want to affect the market the same way that took place in the summertime. And a lot of it had to do with KD's trade request, which also is something that keeps people poised to not move because you don't really know if KD's going to be up for another trade again, trade request. And while that could, that doesn't necessarily mean the team that you are, may get him. It doesn't still mean that you won't want to be involved in that trade somehow. You're going to want to keep your pieces that are valuable in your pocket just in case a big 7-team trade comes about. Hey, you can get your dream youngster or dream pick scenario fall in your lap just by way of a big piece like that moving and you being in a position to help. So I know teams are looking at it that way. And that's why we haven't seen any movement. But understand that the flurries of movement will come because a lot of these teams must make moves before the trade deadline in order to make their teams make sense. So with the inevitability of the Lakers being out there, you can see where moves are going to 100% be made. And that's something that keeps us all very excited as we watch closely. But, things change quickly, man. One injury here, one injury there could change the trajectory of what a team wants to do. Suddenly you think they're going to go all in and now they have no reason to. So you just got to keep watching these teams, see what happens. But as far as our team, the Lakers, if I'm looking at us very, very objectively, I just still don't overall love the idea of everything being balanced on 3 players that I don't trust to stay healthy. Now, I like what I've seen out of Russell Westbrook through 25 games. I could not be more happy with how this is going with him. So I kind of just am poised to see that continue to be the case. He's one of the more reliable people in the world as it pertains to being able to play every night. So as we worry about his circumstance, we understand that we need to worry less about him than most in regards to staying healthy. So yeah, we don't want him to get hurt, and it's kind of scary thinking about it, but all in all, we have him as a durable piece that we can rely upon. LeBron James, we know we have him secure for the rest of the year. That's what it is. We cannot trade him, and so we don't talk about that as a possibility or something that we want for anything like that. As far as AD is concerned, obviously at the level he's playing with, you would consider trading him to be a suicide mission. But at the same time, looking at what the Lakers are and how we're constructed, of course, it probably is the best decision for us to move him for multiple pieces that can give us the flexibility that we are lacking. Rather than to stand on this tightrope, so to speak, going forward. Now, that doesn't mean that that's something that we want to see happen based on how he's playing. It's just the fact of the matter is I don't even think I would be happy with that. But this is one of those situations where it's not about whether or not you're happy with it. It's about whether or not it saves your backside. We're in a position where we could fall completely off a cliff as a franchise as it pertains to if these guys lose their value. You know what I mean? If for some reason AD goes down with an injury that turns him into somebody else, and we can't trade him for 7 and 6 picks anymore, that value is now dissipated into nothing. And that's something you don't want to have happen if you're the Lakers. With all these demands that you have to keep on winning and stuff like that, it's just a very, very, very risky way to continue forward. Unnecessarily risky, dare I say. But then again, if the guy's going to be putting up 55 and 3 blocks and 17 rebounds, stuff like that, you really cannot look at it any other way than him being an untradeable piece that should never, ever be moved. But here's the problem. Most pieces that should never, ever be moved are not locked into a situation where they cannot get the piece they need to get better for the time frame that they're in. In other words, everybody has to respect a superstar's timeline in their own right as a franchise. It's hard to do that when your cap is split up in 3 ways and 2 of those 3 pieces are immovable, mathematically immovable. LeBron James is mathematically immovable, and Russell Westbrook is nearly mathematically removable and irresponsibly removable based on the fact you have to attack picks in order to move him. So you're forced by way of his circumstance, to play this season out, and every single game you play, you risk him getting hurt and ultimately just going down and letting that value disappear. So that's the circumstance. Is it crazy to trade AD? Yes. Is it crazy to trade AD under those circumstances? No. It's responsible. It's what you should do. And that's the part we have a hard time grasping. That's the part I have a hard time grasping. But that's exactly what the calculator says, friends. That is what the math tells us. So the Lakers are going to have to find a way to effectively move Russell Westbrook for multiple pieces in order to get out from under that. That's the only way. It's literally the only way to make it so that you're not leaning so much on Anthony Davis with the current stuff that the Lakers have in their war chest. And so that's just ultimately it, man. That's why making the trade for Russell Westbrook for us was such a bad thing. Making that move was such an irresponsible thing for your cap, because it put you in that position to not be able to do all that we're talking about here. So it's one of those things where it's like, we don't like harping on mistakes or bashing people in for stuff that we've already made videos on that about. You know what I mean? But I think it's just, all we can say is lesson learned for those who go forward and think about doing this. You got to understand that this is what exactly happens when you do that. Yes, you bring yourself stars, but you also bring yourself the inability to keep those stars responsibly kept. You're not going to be able to give them what they want, or need rather, to be the best selves. So yeah, that's bad. That's bad for the league as a whole. When you consider what these stars can do for other franchises, what they can do for you, etc., if you're done properly, what other teams are doing versus you in regards to handling their business properly, and then consider you have the highest and most important piece. It's just, it brings imbalance to the league as a whole. You know what I mean? So these are things we just happen to understand, man. As we understand it, we want our team to do what we need to do so that we're not bringing imbalance to the league. No different than we would want anyone else to bring imbalance to the league. And that's real. I think at the end of the day, we can fix our problems, though. We don't have to trade AD to fix our problem. We just have to effectively trade Russell Westbrook to ensure that we give ourselves a cushion for this 6-month window while we're forced to hold on to LeBron and not trade him for a bunch of pieces that help us out of the situation. And that's the key to it all. So, yeah, man. I believe this team could win if we had a little more talent on it, though. That's what makes it so strange about it all. These guys healthy have proven that they can do some good things, but they're going to need those complementary pieces, and the Lakers are going to have to make them manifest somehow. And as we said, on the calculator, it don't show no way to really do that. So that's what we've run into. And I want to reiterate something I said in the other video. I just think continuing to go to the other guys is our best bet, because if they turn into some special stuff, if we can get one of these guys to turn into Manu Ginobili, that is the solver of that problem. You need to find something out of nothing, and you need that nothing to turn into a whole lot of something, and that fixes the problem. That fixes the problem right there. So we gotta get lucky, and we need these guys to develop, and we need them to develop to their best selves, and then we need to trade them for stuff that then flourishes into other great stuff that overachieves, and get lucky there too. That's how you get out of this situation without having to blow up everything, I guess. But even so, the timeline on that doesn't make any sense, because all of this is within a window of a short 6-month period for us. So at the end of the season, Russell Westbrook comes off the books. And then, of course, we'll be in a position to be able to move LeBron James if necessary. And that can give us our flexibility, in theory, I guess. In theory. But then you're the team that traded LeBron James. So that makes you less attractive to other stars, in theory, as well. So it's a hard way to play if you're the Lakers. And I think the safest thing for the Lakers to do is just try to make the player that they want to keep as happy as possible. But if that player desires to stay next to LeBron James, or that player's desires to stay next to AD, respectively, then you're at square one. That's exactly what it is, man. This is why, as much as I love player empowerment, having them involved in what it takes to put the team together requires them to understand this aspect of so much more than LeBron James specifically was able to understand while he was suggesting certain things to put teams together, man. It's like he didn't respect the responsibility of the organization to the superstars it pertains to being able to flexibly have that flexibility to fix problems and stop the bleeding on bad decisions and things like that, which can happen when you're dealing with sharks that are GMs, man. They're gonna fleece you and leave you at a disadvantage. So when that happens, you got to be able to get out of those circumstances. And so as we learn, we apply that thought, and it's just so important for organizations not to allow people who don't understand these things to make decisions that affect these things. You know what I'm saying? It ain't enough to just bring me some players. Nah, bro. Let's make sure the calculator says it makes sense to do it in the way that we want to do it, or otherwise we still gonna suck. Is the object of the game to get better, or is it not? So that's really what it comes down to. We got to make better decisions going forward with our cap, and I think the best way to do that is to make sure the right people in place are doing that, man. As I've heard, Rob Pelinka values flexibility. This is something I've heard him speak on. This is something that I've heard him, iterate many times in various things that I've read as well. So that's what I want to see him respectfully, handle. Take care of that flexibility. Put that first in regards to this organization, because that's going to be our out in regards to a lot of things. Don't let anybody waver you in regards to flexibility, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It really is. And anybody that thinks otherwise, just take a look at what happens when teams don't value that flexibility. Simple put, if they don't have Steph Curry in their team, they're probably losing. So it is what it is, man. That's what we have to say, man. I just want to give it a little more Laker talk, I guess. I'm still very happy after a loss against the Toronto Raptors, where I thought my team played well enough to walk away feeling good about themselves. And I really discipline us to look at it that way, so that we don't have ourselves falling victim to the stuff that the media is going to be trying to sell us in regards to whether or not our team is playing well or whether or not our expectations should be at a certain level. No, we're going to know if we're good enough to compete, because we're going to work on the things that otherwise make us better. We're not going to let them lie to us about it, because we're focused on it, and we're going to be intent on helping the team get better as we suggest things ourselves. So it's a new way to be a fan, man. BDF44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.